Hello, hello. How we doing?
I am doing awesome. It's been a great week. We talked about last week that I was taking this week off. And I mean, I did the business of the business, right? But it was really nice to just be able to not have to get in and out of meetings so often and focus on. I have a big client that I took on, so I got to focus on some of their stuff. And then I got to redo a lot of my stuff in my website. So I'm doing awesome and feeling relaxed. How are you today, Sarah?
I'm good. I'm good. I had people visit on Monday and I have people visiting tomorrow. So it's kind of almost been a short week. And then I also didn't have homework this week. So it's been a good week. I can't complain too much. I can't complain too much.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
Just so everybody knows, I am Brittany, an accountability business coach, and I am the owner of Biz Storming, and this is Sarah.
Hello, hello. Our logos and everything and QR codes are throughout the intro and exit. So feel free to go check that out and see what we do. So, yeah, today we're here to talk about a little bit about logos because that's your first story. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to go in depth on that. But then we're also going to talk a little bit about proper communication with vendors. All those people that provide things to your business that you pay for. Remember, I mean, you can barter, but for the most part, it's those people that you pay to do a service. So let's start with your story. Something happened this morning with a logo and it got you a little fired up for a little bit. So, what is your story?
One of the things that when you're working with design, and Sarah and I had talked about last week how your branding is really big and how it's something that should really articulate yourself and the things that you're doing. And I have a client and I'm helping them with their branding, and I'm not doing the branding, but they had a team before I got on. And the logo that they had chosen, or the logo that was sent to them initially, was very textile, very text based. And this particular client is a very vibrant client. And they have a lot of culture inside of what they need for their logo to look like. And that
Mm,
wasn't communicated in the first round. The first round was colors and, the simple things, but what they wanted from their logo wasn't communicated, including a very specific numeral number from a specific place that they wanted to use.
sure.
So we had a follow up conversation and we paid for the person to redo the logo with the follow up information. And it came back worse than the first time.
Ugh, that makes it rough. That makes it rough. Um, yeah, and that happens though. That happens when you're trying to get the thoughts in your head onto paper or onto an art or onto anything really. It's hard to convey that, especially then you take your own thoughts, give them to someone else and expect them to be, perfect with it. And a lot of times what happens with logo creation is we have that idea in our head, and honestly, no matter what that person does, they're never going to grasp it. And that means they're not a good fit for you, right? And this is where we go into what you talked about before we got on this call a little bit, that there's probably 3,000 different types of logos, but it's kind of narrowed down into a few types of logos. And you use mine and yours and Jeanette's as examples. So why don't you go through that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a few different things that you can look at when you're looking at a logo. You can look at the text of a logo and how much text you want to use. So my logo is very text-based. It's a very particular text that's inside of Microsoft, and that's what that is. And then the Z's are a different type of text that my designer kind of put together and then created a background inside of everything. So there's a
Mhm.
little bit of design. Obviously, with the color changes, you can see on Sarah, she has solid colors. Mine has a background. So there's design required, but also it's really just text.
Mhm.
And inside of Sarah, Sarah has that path, right? So she had to create, I'm pretty sure Sarah created her logo, and
Yes.
she had to create that space with that path that takes design and architect to create that. And then she has her text. And then when you go into the creative spirit, I have a feeling that Jenny probably got on her iPad, drew a beautiful face, drew a beautiful butterfly, really created what she wanted inside of how do they want to present the creative spirit? How is this going to portray who we are? And
Yeah.
so mine is 90s rock band. Yours is very like, we're going on the beaten path. We're going off of this. This is what we're doing. And theirs is very much really hitting that home. And you can do that with the different graphics in the different spaces. But that requires communication and forehand of knowledge.
Yes. It does. You have to at least have a solid idea of what you want before you go into this conversation with a logo designer. And the same thing with a website designer also. You have to kind of have that more than just colors in your head, right? And you can't just say, well, what do you think off the beaten path means? They're going to give you 82 ideas that are nothing in your head. And when you are building your company, you're lying, and I'm joking a little bit. You're lying if you haven't thought about it before. Everybody's thought about how their company looks, where the website looks, the logo looks, your t-shirts are going to look. If you've thought about building a business, you've thought about it. And the more you write down, whenever you have an idea of what that should look like, write it down. The more information you can give that designer, the more likely they're going to take what's in your head and get it correctly down on paper. Now, most logo designers give you a couple of revisions because no matter what, it's never going to be perfect on try one. But in what Brittany's story at the beginning was, even with a second try, this particular logo designer that she was dealing with still couldn't get anywhere near what was in the company owner's head. And Brittany tried to explain it. The owner tried to explain it. And at some point in time, you need to take a step back and say, it's not a good fit, right? No, we're not communicating. We're not on the same page. And trust me, with Upwork, with Fiverr, with referrals, there are a million people out there to create logos. Okay. And for the right price, Brittany and I'll create you a logo. So I'm making jokes here a little bit in a way, but if there are people out there to find. So don't stick with somebody. Don't keep paying 120, 150, whatever they're charging you for a logo over and over again for revisions to try to work with them and get it right. That would be my first.
Definitely. And with the communication, one of the biggest things that I did ask was because this person does a block of 3 or they do a block of 6. And I asked, when you do the first one, can you please send that over so that we can see if we're on the same page? And they did not do that. So it is
Mm,
okay to request what you need. If you're like, hey, I know you've had my logo for a while. You said you were going to have it at this time. I know I'm a week early, but could I see what you're doing? That's going to allow you to direct them, or just have them.
before it's too late. Mhm.
Exactly. And have them send you a follow-up email of this is what I understood from our call. Those are great ways to understand. And I even asked during the call, do you understand what we're asking, or do you need me to send you images that I have from ChatGPT? Because in this particular case, I'm not talented enough to do what this particular person needs. And so I ChatGPT'd it. And
Sure.
that is not the answer, but that is a way to get what's in your head onto paper so that somebody can actually make it amazing. Um,
Agreed. And I think there are ways to use AI, right? And that is definitely one of them. And I'm going to actually use your logo for an example here, really quick. So yours has the Z/S, right? Uh, lightning bolts. Wow, the word was not coming to me. Lightning bolts that you switched up between Z and S, right? And you had that in your head, right? And you had to create that and get that out of your head into the right way. And there was a time that you could have paid somebody to do that for you, right? But there was also a time that you're just like, nobody's ever going to do this the right way. And this is where I'm going to go to every once in a while, learning how to do something on your own might be worth the free Canva account. And sometimes it's worth the, I don't know, paid version. What does Canva cost now? Paid version? I don't even know.
It's like $30.
Okay, so like $30. But if you work with somebody and they truly aren't listening, take a Canva class. There's a bunch of YouTubes on how to use Canva, and you can start creating your own logos and social media posts and website content. Now, I don't say create your own website and learn how to do that, because that's a whole animal in and of itself if you're not very tech savvy. But learning how to use Canva can actually benefit you in a lot of different avenues. And I know that that was kind of a tangent because we wanted to talk about communicating with vendors, but sometimes taking yourself away from a vendor and doing it yourself is an option.
Yes, exactly. I was trying to find my old logo. I will show you guys my old logo next week and inspire you to come back and watch this. But really communicating with your vendors is huge too. And a lot of the people watching this particular show on Roku are crafters. And so
Yes.
you have supply vendors. If you're somebody who has created your own crafting show, you have to talk to the vendors who are coming into your crafting show, and vice versa. You have to talk to who's hosting because you're the vendor, right? And
Yeah.
so those conversations are a huge thing to be able to articulate. One of the things, Sarah, that I use in my meetings is I have Fathom, and it
Oh,
records
yeah.
everything and it turns
So
it into script.
Fathom is a note taker. So you can do Zoom meetings with Fathom as a extra attendee, and what it does is it creates notes for that meeting so that you don't have to be paying attention and taking notes at the same time. You can be fully immersed in a conversation, knowing that later on you can go back and all of that will be recorded for you. I don't use it, but I know a lot of people who love it for sure.
And then there's Otter. And Otter will actually go right on your phone. And if you put the conversation on speaker, then Otter will do the same thing. I actually cheated, and one of my clients, she wanted to do blog posts, but she didn't want to type them. So I actually had her send me daily voice messages that I had my Otter listen to. My computer ran the voice message, and my Otter recorded it. So you can do different things to create that text that doesn't really put all the work onto you, and you can recap and send that in. I actually am working with somebody right now where those videos aren't being rewatched, and I need to have it to where they recap the conversation before we even get off the phone. Because there is a lot of these were what you're supposed to do, and it's a bigger management space.
Sure.
So everybody needs to kind of be self-manageable at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we keep giving you ways, apparently, that's our theory today, ways to not use vendors. So we keep giving you tips to not do that. But the thing is that Brittany and I have been, well, not, I mean, we're on this call together, but we've been solopreneurs for a long time. And so we're used to doing things ourselves and figuring out the tools and tips and tricks to do it ourselves. And a lot of people that are watching this, if you're watching this on the Roku channel or the Fire TV channel, you're more than likely a crafter trying to start a new business, and you're going to have to do some of these things on your own initially, unless you're an independently wealthy crocheter. Then I'm assuming you're going to have to do some of these things on your own. But
And, I have a virtual assistant. We caught a mistake this morning, and to their credit, they sent me the message of things, and I went in and I was like, "Oh yeah, here's the LinkedIn profile," because in my head I'm thinking the letter is the wrong letter for their name, right? And I didn't finish the conversation of, "Hey, the name is incorrect. Here's the LinkedIn profile. Let's make sure it gets tagged correctly." I said, "Here's her LinkedIn. Make sure it gets tagged." And I walked away from the conversation. So it's a back and forth of really fully having that conversation of, this is what we need incomplete. And Sarah, you know me, I've already had the conversation in my head person, so I'll start mid sentence. And it works both ways, but it is definitely one of those spaces where the different vendors you have and the different situations you have, make sure you've got that understanding and that follow through with those conversations so you're not doing things.
Sure. And I think that is overall just good communication tactics, right? Things that we can all do better in, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, i.e., entrepreneurship, is building on those communication skills and making sure that we are following through. We're conveying our true intent behind something and making sure that we're detailed enough without being weird.
Or
Um,
micromanaging.
sure. Yeah. Micromanaging is good, probably better than weird. But don't be weird either. So don't be a micromanager or be weird. How's that?
Says
Um,
the two people that are weird all the time.
hey, I didn't say weird was good or bad. No, I'm joking. Yes, we are weird all the time. Um, and so with that, I think we're doing these videos. I have one that comes out on Mondays. They are building the clientele and different people like us doing shows on this channel. And I think that's super fun. But this is a different way of communicating. Um, one of the things that people forget is when you work from home, I don't talk to myself out loud a lot, but I talk to myself in my head. My partner in life, he talks to himself out loud a lot. And I have a feeling Brittany does too. She might even answer. Just saying. I don't know. Just saying. But communicating as an entrepreneur, you get left alone a lot. And therefore, when you communicate with people, you do tend to have that conversation in your head 4 times before you make that call. And that can be dangerous. And that's why I say to write it down before you get on the call so that you actually have your notes and you will be sure not to forget something or to start mid conversation because that's where you were in your head.
Exactly. And really just being aware of what you want fully before you request it. That's the other thing is, and you can change your mind and you can add all the time. You are more than welcome to say, "This is what I said. You sent me this first draft, and I would actually like this." Or, "This
Right.
is the conversation we had. This is the contract that you sent me. I don't know if this is actually what I want to fulfill on. How about we come back and do this?" You can always counter and change and adjust.
Yeah. And never feel like there's no getting out of it. Right. Um, a lot of times I should say I shouldn't say we because I don't know about Brittany, but a lot of times when like I'm working with somebody, I start to feel bad. Like, oh, I should keep them because of XYZ, right? I should keep them here because, well, they've been here for so long, or, I've already given them so much. I don't want to start with somebody new or whatever. And that doesn't mean you don't have to pay them for their time because you do have to do that. But don't keep them around simply because you feel bad or you think that this is the only option. And so that would be my next concept. And I I know Brittany has kept people around probably longer than she should have occasionally. And I know I have too. Yes. Yeah.
But that also comes with, what is that standard, right? There's times where I think I can teach somebody. We're women. We want to take on a project.
Oh, that's what we do.
We're on the crafting. We are on the crafting show so we can take on projects. Like, let's be honest here. But the truth of the matter is that if you have to continuously teach somebody to do what you hired them to do, that's exhausting, and you're now paying two people to do one thing. So it's okay. I know that there's different instances. Sarah, I sent you the perfect HR topic.
Yes, I am going to go with that HR topic.
But
Yes,
not
that was
being
an
afraid of
interesting story.
unemployment, right? And
Right.
not being afraid of, this did not work. You did this, which caused this, which is now me having to pay this. And it's okay to say, you know what, it's less expensive for me to let you go, pay for whatever that separation of the contract or anything is, so that I don't have to pay for a mistake again.
But also, I want to clarify that it's less expensive financially, but also mentally and emotionally. Okay. Because your sanity is way more worth whatever letting go of that person. And you'll realize that a week or two down the road, after you get over the anxiety of separating a vendor partnership, you'll be like, oh, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that person every day, right? They were draining you and you don't realize it when it's happening, right? But when, like she said, when you have to train somebody, when you have to walk them through every step of the way, and you're like, I just wish that somebody would like listen to me. Who's going to listen to me on this and actually create it for me? It's stressful to go through that. And the weight coming off of you is amazing when you finally look back and say, oh, this is so much better.
And I am going to put a nice little plug in here, but when we do accountability, Sarah, and when you do marketing, and when we come in as a community, that really helps relieve that stress on everybody. So
Sure.
join us for our free Monday meetings, join us for our women's on Tuesday, join us for our task management where we get things done, and the marketing, because that's going to allow you to say, hey guys, this is the situation I'm in. It feels this way, and I don't know what this outcome needs to be. And you can get it from Sarah, who is the HR fixer. You can get it from me, who doesn't like people. You can get it from...
No comments. No comments.
You can get it from people who have been in your situation and can tell you the different routes that they have taken.
Sure.
Find a community. Really be steady with a community and with somebody like a coach who can help you, especially if you're struggling in a different area. I love Eileen Murphy. She, with New Reality, she's like, just get a coach. If there is something that you're not good at, there is a coach out there for you. And those are the very specific things that will actually help you inside of your business. If you're too afraid to do the business or you're too afraid to confront people, then sometimes that makes that anxiety even worse. And we don't want that for you.
Yes. And all of those sign up things that Brittany mentioned are available on her website, right?
Yes.
Yes.
They are under the events.
Wonderful. Under events. And her website's over there in the little chat section in our QR code. And, I think this is a good time. Like, the word coach sometimes is a little bit overdone and people worry about what that means. And so I want to clarify that there are mentors, coaches, and consultants. Okay. Well, and then there's therapy, but that's a whole different topic. So if we'll do therapy
Sarah's
some other
trying to
day.
get me in that one.
Yeah, I think we need it a little bit. So that's a whole different week of, maybe that's episode 4. You never know. No, I think we could go down some really bad rabbit holes if we do that. So no therapy. Mentors, coaches, consultants. Okay. So a mentor is somebody that is a fellow crafter. In this case, right? We're using crafters. Is a fellow crafter that has been there, done that, and they're doing the same thing you are, and they're just meeting with you and talking about it and saying, this is how I was successful. Why don't you try it? But they're an equal in a sense, right? Like just 100% on the same path you are, just at a different level, right? That's what a mentor is. Somebody that's already been the exact same path you've been through. A coach, excuse me, a coach is somebody that is going to walk you through the path of discovery, of your own discovery. So they're going to ask you the right questions. They're going to give you suggestions on how to find your path and grow your business in this case, or solve or become whatever you are ready to become. Right. So Brittany doesn't sit there and be like, well, if you do these 12 things, you'll be accountable at every aspect of your life. She would love to provide that list and just hope everybody listens, but everybody's path's a little bit different and all of that. Right. So she'll walk you through the process of discovery on your own to make sure that you're going to be accountable for your actions for the rest of your career, versus just her telling you what to do every day. Because again, that's micromanaging. A consultant is a little bit different. A consultant is more like a sports coach, where they actually do say, okay, tell me everything about your business. Tell me everything about your life or whatever's happening, the everything approach. And then they actually give you a few single plans that you can choose from. If you do this for the next 6 to 12 months, you'll be in the Olympics. Whoo, sport coach, right? That's what a consultant is a very streamlined approach versus self-discovery and long-term planning. It's more of a very strategic, very specific path. And so figure out what you need, right? And what works best for you. I will say mentor is the only free one. So if you want to start there, it puts the two of us out of business, but it is the only free one.
However, with that being said, it took me a year to take on coaching because there are those ideas of people who are like, oh, do steps 1 through 5 and make $6,000 in 1 month.
Oh, that's not a consultant, and that's not
That
a
is
coach.
not
That's
a
a
coach
scam.
or a consultant. Yes.
That is a scam. Do not listen to those people.
Exactly. I took on a client and they were like, I want to make sure that I have a 40% increase in income. And I was like, find somebody else. Like,
Right.
I can help you do the things, but if you don't do the things, the income's not coming. And it takes a lot of time to adjust the things. So just remember.
And if I could increase income by 40% in 60 days, I'd be doing it to myself every 60 days. Okay. So, like, if somebody tells you that, then you should ask them, why are you not a multi-gazillionaire? Because if you can do that every 60 days, you'd be a multi-gazillionaire. Because that's not even a word, I don't think.
Right? Exactly. So really focus on where do you need what do you need? What is in your head that you need for your design? What is in your head that you need for your business? Because even this week, Sarah and I have had many conversations on what does it look like inside of my business, because there's times where I convey things and everyone's like, what are you doing? Because I have a few different avenues and I haven't figured out that conversation.
Well, we are 50 seconds from being done. So my name is Sarah. I'm with Off the Beaten Path Consulting. I'm an HR fixer. Check out the QR code that'll show up on your screen shortly. And this is Brittany. Brittany, round us out.
I am an accountability business coach, and Sarah and I look forward to seeing everybody next week.